And I think we are up and good to go. Welcome everybody to our third episode of Footy Rivals. It's round 9 for the AFL this week. And
round 9 already.
I know, right?
That's crazy. It's that depressing part of the season where you're just like, let's slow down, AFL.
Yeah. But they won't. You know they won't.
They'll plow on.
That's a bit loud. Well, my name's Ryan. I'm joined by Justin. We're here today to talk about things that have happened during the week and the games ahead. We got a couple of different twists as well as changing up a thing. I mean, we're still establishing the show, so
baby steps. Baby steps.
Yeah. So we've gotten rid of a couple of things that we were doing, and we're bringing some other stuff in. So there is something that we're sticking with though, and that's our big topics each for the week. I want you to start with yours. Hello. Oh, hey, Joel. How you going, mate? I want you to start with your topic, and what stance am I taking on?
You're taking the stance. All right. Now, this piqued my interest during the week because GWS have been abhorrent at the MCG, and it's been well documented because they're a finals contender, and you can't be a finals contender who's abhorrent at the MCG. You're going to make the case for me that they can turn around this MCG hoodoo. They've got some form of stat or talent or something to turn around this poor play that they've had at the MCG, given that the reason I wanted to ask this too was they play there not this week coming, but the weekend after against the Ds. And, maybe that is a game if the Ds aren't in form or something like that, that they can spring, into some form in the MCG. You've got to make a case as to why they can do that.
They can win there. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, yep.
So what do you got for me?
My question for you, on the back of today's news with Tom Boyd.
Right, the big news.
Tom Boyd's just retired. My question is, was Tom Boyd worth the cost of getting for the Bulldogs? Your stance is no.
He wasn't worth it.
He was not worth the cost.
I saw a lot of stuff today that says he was worth it. So
exactly. This is why I'm asking why he's not, because there's been a lot of positive stuff, and rightly so, but I want to know why he wasn't worth it.
Okay. All right. I'm looking forward to this. All right, I'm going to champion this challenge because I read a lot about Tom Boyd today. The specific one being the positive that I think old mate Jared Grant, the microphone head, tweeted out for us, saying that he was well worth it. So I'm keen to establish this stance that he wasn't. I'll take on the microphone.
Good. And guys, let us know what your thoughts are. There's some polls in the cards in the top right hand. That's over that side. Top right hand of your screen. If you tap on the exclamation mark, you'll find some polls and stuff there. Who wins Friday Night Footy and what your stance is on those questions. You'll find out our responses to that at the end of the show. But to kick things off, I think one of the most hotly discussed topics this week was Dane Rampe.
Yeah, this was weird. AFL got weird this week. Give me what you think. Give me what you make of it.
Well, okay, so let's give a rundown of what happened, right? Yeah. Dane Rampe in the match against Essendon at the SCG. Last kick of the game, so after the siren, he jumps up on the pole, gives a bit of a shake, and then jumps off, right? Now, in the rules, technically speaking, that's not okay.
There's grounds for a free kick.
There should have been a free kick, which, having a mark there would have been a 50-metre penalty, right? That's what's happened. Free kick wasn't given. He was just warned. It is what it is. We move on. And the AFL somehow gave it a tick of approval. Now, they gave it a tick of approval because they, in their infinite wisdom, leave enough grey area in the rules to be able to tick either decision correct.
Yes.
Which is a bit stupid.
It benefits them. It benefits the umpires.
But they give this a tick of approval and then fine him for it.
I'm baffled at this. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. More than Rampe wrapped himself around the post. Because I can't understand why. And I agreed with what McLaughlin said about the umpire not calling the free kick.
Yeah.
I thought that was the right call because the umpire, the kick was nowhere near getting a goal.
Well, when was the last time that free kick was going to be called anyway?
Yeah, and it's a game-changing kick. The umpire just doesn't want to mess with the game that much. He says, look, you didn't even get close. Let's forget about it. You had your shot. You missed by a mile. Move on.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the point, though. Like, fair enough. Okay, he missed by... I don't think missing by a mile means anything because if a free kick is given in that scenario, there's a 50-metre penalty. It's a certain goal. So it makes that miss into a goal. That does actually change.
And this
the
is
result.
where Essendon fans have a point. I mean, Essendon fans, if you're filthy, you've got a point. Let me not try and take that away from you. If this happened to the Dockers, I would be filthy too. Nonetheless, I agree with the stance of not letting the umpire change the outcome as much, but then to turn around and fine Rampe as if he's done something wrong that doesn't warrant a free kick yet warrants a fine.
Yeah. It's like you're backflipping on your original stance over the weekend. It doesn't make sense. And I think, Essendon are questioning it because now they're confused as to what the AFL stance is. Like, well, should it have been a free kick? Should it not have been a free kick? They're inquiring it. John Worsford made comments saying that they're moving on, which, fair enough, they probably are, but seeking a bit of clarification around it doesn't necessarily mean you're not moving on. You're just seeking clarification.
It's fine to seek some clarification. If it happens again, we want to know what the protocol is, and it's not likely to happen again, given that every AFL player now knows don't
I found it interesting that the AFLPA was, questioning the amount of fines that Rampe was getting, but he got fined 2 different incidents. Yeah. One, he was being an idiot and called...
I don't know which.
He called the umpire a sissy or something.
He said he talks like a little girl.
Yeah, you can't be saying that to umpires.
As a fullback, just don't do it, man. You're risking a free kick up your end of the ground, and just don't do it. But
welcome, Hayeks. How are you, buddy? Yeah, bit of a stupid one. Got anything for me?
I think that was the dumbest. Just while we're still on it, I think that was the dumbest. I want to call it a fiasco. I'm not sure if it is a fiasco or whatever. I think that was the dumbest thing I've seen in AFL football. And one of the second dumbest, arguably the second dumbest thing, came in the same week with the Fantasia thing. Yeah. Why does the AFL world keep losing its mind over these things?
I don't know.
Mate, what I do have for you is I seen a few things during the week. Some players are getting back to full running. And one that piqued my interest today was Dan Rampe.
Yeah.
He's... I believe back running, or he's taken a step forward in rehab or something like that.
Is he back to full running, or is he just back running? Because he had hamstring
could just be back running
or something.
But either way, it still leads to the same point, which is how much impact is he going to have at the Saints? Because the Saints aren't as bad as we thought they'd be. I want to know what Dan Rampe can actually do for them, given Jack Stevens is gone. Unfortunately for a period of time that hopefully isn't too much longer, because he's a cracking footballer and we want him back on the park.
Yes.
But, they're lacking some midfield grunt. Hanbury obviously didn't provide that for Sydney last year, but the years gone by, we've seen what he can do. What can Dan Hanbury do for the Saints?
It's tricky. If he can actually get his body healthy and being able to perform at its peak, like he was, he probably hasn't been performing at his peak since 2016, since that grand final.
No.
Since the leg injury in the grand final. He's had hamstring problems since. He's had a lot of lower leg injury problems since. To be perfectly honest, and Damien Barrett goes on about that trade quite a fair bit.
He loves it.
It baffles me though. Don't get me wrong, the trade itself makes sense. Bringing down Hanbury into the Saints team makes sense for his leadership qualities, for his experience, and level-headedness. But he hasn't played a game yet.
Yeah,
which is a bit worrying for me.
They paid a hefty price for him too.
Yeah, and that's the big thing as well.
They paid in the trade, but I know that they're forking out some cash for the man.
It's a huge thing to have someone on the sidelines for. Which I suppose, we've gone 8 weeks into 1 year of his contract.
Yeah.
You go to the end of that contract, and it might end up looking like a brilliant master move.
Maybe. I mean, he kind of only has to mentor young kids too. He doesn't have to go on and win them flags or finals or anything like that.
As long as he's
some stability and leadership.
He might actually be there when the Saints are challenging. He won't be their best player, but he'll have helped define what that list is actually stands for.
And that's an achievement in itself. If he can hang his hat on that as
because I do think that Dan Hanbury was a
player.
Huge part and huge reason for the Bloods culture at Sydney.
Integral. Yeah. He was Mr. Sydney, wasn't he? I mean, if we looked at Sydney and you think, players that just defined your team at that point, Dan Hanbury.
Yeah.
And he's the one they moved on from. Understandably, no knock on Sydney. Totally understand why they moved on.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't.
He wasn't producing.
At the time, he wasn't up to the level, and they needed to clear some
They
cap
know
space.
that they're heading in a new direction. They'll clear out more with time. I mean, he's the first of what I assume to be many now.
Yeah.
Now that they're in rebuild mode. But very interesting to see what he can do. I'm really keen to actually see him get on the park. Plays good, plays bad, whatever. I just want to watch how it unfolds.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping he gets back on, and I hope he gets back to his gut running best, because that's what he was best at. His gut running and spread.
Yeah.
Hello, RJS. Welcome, buddy. How are you going? I want to know, at the end of this year, if Tim Kelly hasn't re-signed with Geelong, how much is Tim Kelly worth to West Coast or Fremantle come trade period?
In terms of what they'd give up or contract-wise?
Both.
Contract-wise, it depends which of the two teams he goes to.
Yeah.
I think West Coast are better situated in terms of they don't need him as much as Fremantle at the moment. When people go on about West Coast midfield, it's subpar, and anyone wants a player like Tim Kelly. Yeah. Anyone needs a player like Tim Kelly. But I think West Coast midfield's going to get better as this season goes on. I think they've got good enough names in there. But what I saw from Fremantle on the weekend, it's funny you bring it up. What I saw from Fremantle on the weekend made me think they need a Tim Kelly.
Yeah.
Fife,
they need someone to help Fife.
Fife shouldered that entire load. I tweeted out during the game that I could name 21 players who shouldn't have gotten a gig ahead of Connor Blakely. But they needed someone with some skill, some precision. I think he's very valuable to Fremantle, but I don't know what they have to give up. What do they go to the trade table and go, look, is Tabiner part of a package? I mean, whatever they're going to have to do, they're probably going to have to package something because there's no one player they can really offer that gets the deal done.
No. And I'm not sure what draft picks they've got this year, unless they trade future picks.
They've still got a first rounder this year.
They've got a first rounder.
They've got a first rounder this year. So I believe,
mind you, you can still trade around and get another one in, and then on with that.
That's a big chain that will unfold. But from now, as it stands, I think Fremantle need him, and they will come knocking hard. The intention that Kelly has made is that he wants to go to West Coast. That seems to be fluctuating.
From my recalling of the situation that happened last year, Tim Kelly never actually came out and said himself that it was West Coast only. It was his manager and his partner predominantly his partner actually
driving
came out
the West Coast
and did that. She was adamant that they were not going to go to Fremantle, which was odd.
Yeah, it was odd for a bloke who's played.
But Tim Kelly himself has actually turned around this year and said he will go to Fremantle if he wants to stay in Geelong if that's the case. He's happy to go to West. He's happy. We'll find out what happens with him at the end of the year. What's he actually worth dollar value though?
Dollar value
could potentially be a Brownlow medal winner at the end of the year.
It's the kind of form he's in. I mean, it's not out of the question to say that the team that gets him is going to have to pay him $700,000 a year or somewhere around that. I think that. Maybe that's even a given. I mean, it's hard to put a ballpark.
Is he able to pull in the kind of asking for the kind of money that say Dusty's on? That's 1.2, 1.3.
He is, but he won't get that. I don't think. He's fair enough to ask, not to say he's as valuable as Dusty or Fife or anyone like that, but he's within his rights to ask, because when you're sitting at the trade table, what have we got?
No, Joel says 420,000.
420,000. Okay, all right. No, I think when he's sitting at the trade table, he's sitting there thinking, how badly do you want me, not how valuable am I?
Yeah.
So if that's his mentality, and to be fair, and to be frank, a guy who missed 5 drafts or whatever it was, and has not got the years behind him that an 18-year-old kid or 19-year-old kid does. Ahead of him, might want to get paid. He might want to cash in. I tend to think Fremantle would be the club that fork out the most for him, because Fremantle seem to just throw money at everyone that.
Yeah, they're a bit like North Melbourne's war chest without stating they've got a war chest. Hey, going Andrew, welcome, buddy.
I think somewhere around 700.
Yeah.
grand. The way he's playing is
So I was
absolute,
hovering around about 800. Somewhere around there. Yeah,
which is not out of the question either.
So.
I mean, the worry is that you get him in a different system and he's just not as good as he was at Geelong.
That is
right?
a worry, yeah. And that happens with a lot of players coming into a new system. Gun players that have support around them, specifically to have support around them so that they can all perform to their peak. And then they come into a new team and they play just a slightly different role that they're not used to.
He's also not the only player in Geelong you could look at on their list and go, you wouldn't be as good somewhere else. Look at all the young kids. I don't think Brian Myers, is that how I say his name?
Yeah.
I don't think he'd be as good somewhere else. I think
Tim
Clark
Kelly would be good
anywhere
you put him. I think he's that quality kind of player.
Yeah.
But you go back a few years ago. The example that stands out to my mind, Jack Redden was really great at Brisbane.
Yeah.
Came into a new system, wasn't able to play his preferred position.
Yeah.
And then
really struggled a little.
Struggled.
Yeah. I mean, like Jesse Hogan to me is sticking out right now. He's not playing.
He's not playing
horrendous.
He's not playing as good as what he was.
But he's not playing as good as what he was at Melbourne. No.
And it's an interesting thing, actually. Hogan probably played better earlier on in his career because he had a lot more weight to carry on his shoulders.
Yes, yeah. And he was sort of forced to play good, wasn't he? It was like you're almost pushed into that situation.
His first year, which was his second year in the system, his first year he kicked like 60 goals or something.
Yeah. And he's kicked over 53 times or over 43 times or something like that.
It's pretty good.
He's not on track to do that this year at all.
Andrew, Tim Kelly is definitely a chance to stay at Geelong. There is absolutely no doubt. I don't think anyone is doubting his commitment to Geelong. It is purely a family situation that is that is making him want to come out. Now he's got more support around him this year, which may end up causing him to stay in Geelong if he's got further support, family support around him.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of where he's feeling comfortable, I suppose. He's made it abundantly clear, and you can see it every time he talks about the Cats. He's hugely passionate about them, and this is a purely personal reason for potentially wanting to go.
There's arguments for both sides, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like there's arguments for why you would want to come home, but if you're arguing as to why you would want to stay, I mean, the success, right? They're at the top of the ladder.
Well, if he gets a premiership and a Brownlow this year, does he just go?
Which is not out of the question.
He's got the success. I mean, does he go then?
How silly would you have sounded if you told me at the start of last year, or just 12 months ago now, that Tim Kelly might be a Brownlow contender? People say that now. There might be some people that still think it's silly. I don't think that's silly anymore.
No, definitely
I think that's
not.
Very serious. But I'm going to be interested to see how it unfolds. I think Freo will go harder than West Coast, but there's still the allure of playing at West Coast and being a little more comfortable.
Freo will be able to offer more than West Coast, but I don't think West Coast will necessarily go.
I don't think they'll try
less harder,
particularly on a bloke that we said, he hadn't come out and said he wanted to
West
go to
Coast
West
situation is quite interesting because Luke Shuey is getting old. He's turning 30 next year, so he's
30 next year.
Yeah, next year.
Jeez,
so he's in the
He's
twilight of his career. Other midfielders that are in their sort of mid to late 20s would be Gaff, Redden, just those two probably in the midfield. Tim Kelly comes in to fill that gap while Elliot Yeo still comes up. You got Sheed coming up. He probably fills a perfect age bracket there.
They're very good at getting ahead of the curve on these things, West Coast. Oscar Allen and Jared Brander as potential Kennedy Darling replacements.
Oscar Allen.
He's fantastic. I hate how good he is. I hate it.
He's playing as brilliant. Well as Kennedy is right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's exceeding expectations, and this is what West Coast do well. They get ahead of the curve. Fremantle did not get ahead of the curve with, how many years did they have Matthew Pavlich, and how many years did they think, oh my God, he could retire the next year? And never got a solution. Fair enough, they did try to draft for solutions, but they never got aggressive in going out and getting one. Atnas was never going to be Pav 2.0.
They got Taberner, but Taberner had a lot of injury concerns. To be fair, Taberner, if Taberner was on the park the whole time, he would have been a very, very good replacement for Pavlich.
Yeah. To me, it just seems like it's West Coast bid to lose Tim Kelly. Mate, I wanted to actually, while we're on the topic of Fremantle and failing at things, I want to talk about last weekend. Sadly, I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. I think Fremantle. I watched them on the weekend. Are they just in an infinite time loop where they just continue doing the same thing? Because when I was watching them, it's poor. The few takeaways I could, even the last week off the field, even poor inside 50 connections. They literally, there was an article in the West today saying they're literally looking to get better inside 50 connection.
Yep.
The possibility of a Bennell return, but they're being cautious with him. Fife almost gets...
Bennell is looking to have a... Okay, so here's the thing with Bennell. I don't know whether you read the article that came out today.
I think I saw it. I think I was guilty of seeing the headline.
Fremantle were asked whether they would retire or put Bennell onto long-term injury list.
For the mid-season draft.
Yeah. Right. They said no.
Yeah.
He's looking for a waffle return on the 2nd of June or something like that, which is just after the deadline for the mid-season draft. So he's looking to make a waffle return early June and then hopefully come back into the AFL. If he does, another calf.
It's got to be... I mean, they're going to give him to the end of this year, I think. They're going to give him to the end of this year. I don't think they'll do it.
Well, he has that contract.
And if they were going to do it this year, if they thought there was even the slightest chance of them getting rid of him mid-season, they would do it before the mid-season draft.
Do they put him on the rookie list?
Potentially.
Do they?
Is it something they can do?
I think Peter Bell's run out of patience with him.
I think Peter Bennell never had any patience with him. I think Ross Lyons had a lot, and Peter Bell's... had none, but I just thought they were in an infinite time loop because all these things are happening. Fife almost gets suspended, the Bennell thing, poor inside 50 connection, Fife carrying the load, and I'm just watching it thinking, this is the same Fremantle I watched 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Where has the progression been? And they've done this since they fell out. Been okay for about 8 or so rounds.
The first 8 rounds, yeah.
They get 4 and 4, and then they fall apart. And to me, their last 2 weeks have looked like they are falling apart again.
I mean, they weren't too bad. To be fair, they weren't too bad over the weekend. It was just a third quarter. They missed a lot of shots on goal in the third quarter, and that cost them. And it wasn't just that, but Richmond seemed to be scoring the impossible goal.
Yes,
it was just a bit of luck.
Goal.
It was just a bit of luck that went against them. If that ledger evened up a bit, where Richmond missed a bit more, Freo kicked a couple more, that game was actually down to the wire in the last quarter. I don't think you could I just think they got a bit unlucky with some of the... I mean, they missed some easy shots, don't get me wrong. Their shots on goal have been horrendous for the last 3 years.
Bad kicking.
Taverner's one of the worst offenders of that. But in saying that, I don't think last week was as bad as the scoreline suggested.
No.
The week before, definitely. But that is a blip on the radar compared to the rest of the season. I think you could look at that one and go, yep, well, I'm having flashbacks here. But last week, I wouldn't agree with that.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about Fife. It's not on my... It's not... Fife. Okay?
All right.
Since 2013, has been either reported or suspended at least once every year. Is he getting a reputation?
Oh, I think he has a reputation. I think... Part of me just thinks it's the player that he is. He's so
he's a
in
hard
and under
player.
and he's so hard. But he's got so many little... I don't even really want to call them brain fades because he's an intelligent player as well. But... They are just little, every now and then something happens, and now that it's happened so often, as a Freo fan, you're sitting on your seat and you're going, I just need the commentators to smooth this over for me and tell me everything's all right.
He's done it again.
It's,
Because you go through his record, okay? 2013, he gets suspended. I can't remember what he was suspended for.
I think it was a kick. I think he kicked Jordan Lewis in the guts. I think,
2014, he gets suspended for the accidental head clash, cost himself a Brownlow.
Yeah.
2015, he wins the Brownlow, but should have been suspended. They brought in a new rule for him to win a Brownlow, and he should have still been suspended under those rules. And people might say that I'm salty at that because it cost Pritis a second Brownlow, but he should have been suspended.
I'm going to return and be salty and say he shouldn't have been suspended the year before, and Pritis cost him a second.
No, well, that's true. He shouldn't have been suspended for the head clash, but he should have been suspended in 15. He broke broke those rules. 16, I think he was out injured.
He was.
17, he got reported.
What did he do in 2017?
No, he got suspended last year. 17 or last year?
He did. Last year was just injuries. Last year he didn't get suspended.
Well, he got suspended in 17 then. Because he's been suspended since 13-14.
Yeah.
And he got reported again for something last year.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And again for this year. So this year he's already broken that streak of not being reported. Maybe he can go into the next year and have a streak of not having any reports.
Do you think, I don't want to use the word lucky because it's probably the wrong word to use, but do you think he was, do you think he should have been banned?
Yes.
This week just gone?
Yeah.
I think him and Ablett probably
very
breathing
lucky.
Big sighs of relief.
Nathan
Sam
Fyfe is
stiff.
Nat Fyfe is as lucky as he is because he happened to have that incident the week after Gary Ablett gets off of that same incident.
Which again, Gary Ablett was lucky that he had the incident and
Which
got
is,
off before.
Here's another perplexing thing for you though. Okay, so Gary Ablett last week gets his gets his grading down so that he's just fine. Effectively, the exact same thing happens this week. Nothing.
But I don't know. I don't know. Paul Sam Durden, man. His name's just Sam Durden, and that's, you've copped a week, but so be it. One thing I wanted to ask you, a funny little thing came up this week. Someone had made a social media post, as we do in the AFL world, about Josh Jenkins potentially being traded.
Yes.
He's come out and refuted those claims.
Yes. As you would though.
It's mid-season. It's all speculation. It's all hearsay. He's been dropped for 4 games and they've won 4 games though.
And is it Himmelberg?
Elliot Himmelberg.
Yeah, he's come in and he's played that role better than what Jenkins does. So.
Very good. My question was, we're talking hypotheticals here now.
If he goes?
I mean, if he does, I don't think he will. But if he does, and if they did decide to trade him, where do you see him being a good fit?
It's funny because it was only, 2 years ago that he was being courted at Gold Coast.
Really good forward. Yeah. 2 years ago, that is. 2
years ago he was being courted by Gold Coast for like $1 million a year or something like that.
Yeah.
I bet you he's probably kicking himself for not taking that now. I don't know. It's a tricky thing. Who out there that is on the market that Adelaide want?
Well, that I can't answer to, but what I do know is that the post itself...
besides Tim Kelly, who is effectively still available at the end of the year, what big players are actually available at the end of this draft year? Because I think the Giants are pretty confident at retaining
Canelio will stay.
Because Kelly from the Giants has re-signed already.
Yeah, that was a big one. Have we got?
I'm Joker, but he needs to pull his finger out and string along a couple good games. Oh yeah, so it should be noted, Josh Jenkins is Joel's favourite player.
Right. Okay. Well, sorry to be breaking your heart a bit, Joel. But the 3 teams I did write down in terms of where I think he would fit. I don't know if this trade would fit, but where he might fit as a player. One was Gold Coast.
Yeah. But they need another forward.
Yeah, they need another one. North, potentially to sit next to Ben Brown. I don't know. Do they have anything up and coming outside of Ben Brown in terms of key forwards?
You've got Ben Brown, then you've got Mason Wood, but Mason Wood's always injured.
Yeah, and then the other one was the one that the post linked him to, which was Hawthorn.
Yeah.
They could
How old is Jenkins?
I don't know. Joel.
How old is Jenkins? Because how many years would he have left in his career? I would say he's mid to late 20s.
Yeah, I would think so. He came in like a bit later. He didn't burst on the scene by any means. He sat behind Tippett for a while. That's a good question. But merely a hypothetical I was thinking of, given that he actually came out and defended the claim. He defended himself against a social media post saying, hey, trade him. Maybe he was asked to.
Yeah, but
maybe
let's be fair. Josh Jenkins is all over the internet.
Yeah.
He's very opinionated on Twitter.
Very outspoken.
Yeah. I've got one last question before we go into the games.
He's 30. We've got from Hayek.
He's 30. Yeah. Okay, so I don't really think he goes anywhere.
Yeah, probably not.
He's a bit old.
Yeah, maybe if Gold Coast feel like they get him really, really
for
cheap.
a premiership team. For a team that's going premiership.
And none of them really... I'm not sure I don't think any of them need him.
I'm not sure who does. Yeah.
Nah.
It's not so much a question. It's kind of a statement with an interesting fact in it. Okay, so Buddy's done his hamstring.
Yep.
He's going to be out for a couple of weeks. Because he's not playing this weekend and subsequent weeks leading up to his 300th game, his 300th game can now not be played against the Hawks. How do you feel about that?
That sucks.
How good would that have been?
We're so robbed as footy fans there.
Maybe we should just ice him until next year so that he can do it next year.
Yeah, totally. Just put him on ice. I'm assuming he's not playing finals. Just give him a year off. Let him put his feet up in the Maldives or something.
How fitting would that have actually been?
I would have loved that. I mean,
it would have been brilliant.
I mean, the legends that you would want to be in a Hawthorn uniform for that game probably aren't there anymore. And your Hodge, Mitchell, Lewis, Ruffett probably still be dropped.
You still got Gunners there. You still got Bruce and
bring
Roughhead in.
Yeah,
bring Roughhead in.
He was the guy who sat up front with him. Make Roughhead play defense for the week. I feel robbed by that. That's a shame.
It's a gut wrenching.
That's a real shame.
It's a gut wrenching little fact there, isn't it?
Mate, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Shawn Grigg. After all the Tom Boyd news today, I felt
he's forgotten the premiership
so
hero,
bad for Shawn Grigg because I actually, when I watched Richmond win that flag, he was my favourite Tiger. I love the man. I thought he was great, and now with Tom Boyd, it's just overshadowing him. Poor Shawn Grigg.
Do you know what's really interesting? His official label would be Premiership Ruckman Shawn Grigg, okay? And here's the most interesting thing for you, right? In the entire final series of 2017, he didn't win a single hit out.
Really? Yeah. He's just Premiership Ruckman.
Yeah.
Wow.
In the whole final, it's not just the grand final, the whole final series of 2017, he didn't win a single hit out.
I know he was just a Premiership Ruckman. I wish that he had have just pinched one.
I love that stat.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So
Cat Attack, welcome.
Shout out to Shawn Grigg.
Yeah,
we love you, Shawn.
Premiership hero.
Yeah,
it's a bit like
never forget.
It's a bit like Cam Mooney's Premiership stats for the '99 North Melbourne flag.
What wowed you there?
He didn't have anything.
He didn't have
no touches. No,
really?
He got a tackle, but his teammate played advantage, so he didn't get a shot on goal or anything. So he got no possessions, no nothing. Got one tackle, and that was it for the game. He got a Premiership medallion out.
I can't know with an AFL.
That's the Cam Mooney one. All right. Well, let's go into this weekend's games.
Yeah, time to get into the game. So,
who do we got first?
First up, we've got West Coast, Melbourne, Perth Stadium. A game where I think West Coast can really actually return to form here.
Yeah.
They've been treading water and just getting wins. I think they can grab a hold of this one. What are your thoughts?
I would think so. The only concern for me is it's been wet here today in WA.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be wet again tomorrow. However, West Coast have opted to not do their 2 ruckman policy, so they're not as tall. So that means instead of having Hickey, Vardy, Darling, Kennedy all rotating through the forward line,
while it's wet,
one of those is dropped. Willie Rioli comes in, and I think
huge in for mine.
Waterman has been dropped, which is a tall.
Yes.
So huge. West Coast is one of the worst ranked teams going inside 50 because they haven't had Mark Lacroix. And Willie Rioli.
Yeah.
Rioli comes back
That's
in.
Huge, actually. Never thought of Lacroix. I mean, you think of, because he's retired, you think of Ryan Rioli now.
Ryan's not great at delivering the ball, though.
No. I think West Coast really gets a hold of Melbourne here because Melbourne's outs were Melksham, who was their best forward last week.
Yep.
Hibbard.
Who's their best player last week? He had a fantastic game last week. Yep, Hibbard.
Michael Hibbard, who's gonna
he broke his collarbone, eh?
Yeah, I think he's injured, but who's going to take, his job that he would have done? Jordan Lewis, and then, is it Kilty or Kilty?
Kilty, I think.
Kilty. Yeah. He's out too. Melksham Hibbard, massive outs. They bring in Baker. I think it's Oscar Baker makes his debut.
Okay.
And they've also brought in Smith Petty and Alex Neil-Bullen.
Yeah.
I don't hate
major
Neil-Bullen,
outs.
that's fine, but the outs outweigh the
and
ins,
that's
and
4 changes in a team that is still struggling for form.
A team that should not have beat the Gold Coast.
They got very lucky.
Yeah, I see no. I tell you what, if Melbourne pull this one out, I will be absolutely gobsmacked, even if they compete. I think this is where, with the addition of Rioli into, is huge. I mean, was it last week we were talking about how many centre square bounces they win and the percentage that they win? He's not in there for many, but they win a high percentage when Rioli runs into the square. I can't see them really getting past.
One of my brother-in-law actually made a comment to me today because he's a West Coast fan as well, and he turned around and said, how good has it been to be excited about? Like, how long has it been since you were excited about West Coast small forwards?
Yeah.
You've got Ryan, Rioli. You've got Petrocelli running around there. Plus, you've still you got the ever reliable Cripps. But beyond that, beyond Lacroix, who was more of a medium forward, he could play tall or small. They haven't had any small forwards rolling through there that have been any good.
Is Philip Matera the one we think back to? It's a long time ago.
Probably.
But Petrocelli, you just mentioned, he could have a massive game because he played well when they were in the wet last time. Was that the 5 goals against Port?
That's right, yeah.
And also Rioli just frees him up. Rioli's going to soak up a lot of attention that probably would have gone to
I'm very interested to see how they use Rioli this week. But West Coast for me, it should be a good win. Hopefully they use it as a win to gain back some form.
Yeah, and really spring into momentum. Game 2, the first game on Saturday. Collingwood Saints, I believe it's at the G, isn't it?
Collingwood Saints is at the G, yes. Yep.
Collingwood welcomes back Dane Beams.
Yep.
They lose Jamie Elliott.
They brought back Adams as well, didn't they?
No, I've only written down Beams and Varco. I think it's just Beams and Varco have come in.
Okay.
And out goes Willis and Elliott.
However, it should be noted that DeGoey is probably touch and go.
Yeah, and if they feel safe in this game, why risk him?
Yeah, the Saints have brought back Marsh.
Marsh and Young come in. Webster and Long go out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe the Saints bring him in thinking...
What's wrong with Cox at the moment? Is there anything wrong with him, or is he just dropped?
Was it a hammy injury? Or was
I'm not sure.
No, I think he's injured. Pretty sure he's injured. But if they lose both him and DeGoey, does that really hurt their forward line a lot? Or have they still got enough to cover it? Because they're quite talented up front.
Yeah, definitely. They've got Elliott, they've got Thomas, they've got Stevenson running through there. Yeah,
One more week, apparently, Andrew reckons, for Mason Cox. But I agree. They've got enough talent to cover, right?
Yeah, definitely. In the forward line, definitely.
Yes.
And they clearly have enough talent in the midfield.
Check's still there, yeah.
They lost 2 very, very good players in their midfield last week, and they were still very good in the midfield. So.
Yeah, and they welcome back Dane Beams. So, Collingwood, for me, I would say comfortably, although
I would confidently say Collingwood by about 50 points.
Yeah. I'm actually hoping St Kilda compete. I have a soft spot for the Saints.
I'm hoping they
probably
compete
just easy
only to keep their season alive.
Yeah.
It's looking to start to
derail 3 in a row that they've lost now, I think. 3 in a row.
By decent margins.
Yeah, I hope they compete, but they've really got Collingwood at the wrong time of their season.
Yeah,
I'd very rather have them after you've just picked up a win or something. But while you're on 3 losses,
you don't want
turning into 4 is a bit of a disaster.
Although it is one of those games where young teams just go up and down, and this could be one game where they just go shoot straight up, take Collingwood by surprise, and that's all you need.
I'm going to go with the Pies.
The Pies, definitely. Okay. 50 points, I just said,
Just to clarify.
Yeah.
Right. Game 3 of the round, we've got Brisbane and Adelaide, second Saturday game up at the Gabba.
Now, it should be noted here.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay,
we're doing new stuff.
We've started a new thing here, okay, every week. Now, we're going to implement it for this week. However, the idea that we're going for won't actually happen until next week. Now, those of you that are in the chat, if you look in the description of the stream, you'll find 2 links, our Discord server and our Twitter label on there as well. So what we're going to be doing, there are 2 games. We're going to pick a game each of relative 50-50. And we're going to name a certain winner for that game. And if we get it wrong, there's a punishment that we have to endure. Okay, so for example, this week, my certainty to win is Brisbane. Ooh. They play very good up at the Gabba, and I know Adelaide are coming off some really good form. They've started to find some really good form. They've come off 3 good wins. But Brisbane play the Gabba very well.
They do.
They came up against Collingwood, who are probably the second most informed team of the competition, and they really came up against them. However, I do think Brisbane will...
Outside of that, they've been great at the Gabba.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They're my certainties. However, if I get that wrong, we're going to come up with a couple of punishments for ourselves to do.
Yeah.
What'll happen is I'll put up a poll on Twitter where you guys can go and vote for what punishments you would most like to see if we get that wrong.
Please be kind.
and we'll actually implement that as of next week into what we're doing.
Should be very interesting. So Brisbane. Okay,
how we got? That's the hardest pick of the round.
To go through
there you go.
Ins, they've got Walker. I don't know if it's Hinge or Hing. I think it's just Hinge. And Matheson.
Matheson comes in,
Out comes Lester and Cutler, who I believe have been omitted.
Yep.
And I think Bailey's injured.
Yeah.
For Adelaide, they have just the one change, and it's Chase Jones coming in, and Riley Knight goes out. That doesn't shake your confidence at all. That doesn't really change.
Not really, no. So what Adelaide's Jones in, Knight out.
Chase Jones is
not
in.
Not really.
No,
it doesn't change it for me. I think Brisbane play the Gabba very well, and they're a pretty spirited team.
Yeah. I tend to agree. I think Brisbane will win this game as well.
It should. Here's an interesting stat for you here, though, right? Which might sway you. Brisbane has not won against Adelaide at the Gabba since 2009.
You know what? I think that does sway me. I was already on the verge. Brisbane are a different team to what they were.
Does it sway you
in that whole decade?
Does it sway you in that Brisbane are a better team now, so they're probably due a win? Or does it sway you that Adelaide are just going to continue that kind of form?
I'm going to erase history in my argument here. I'm not ready to dive into that because Brisbane have been awful and Adelaide's been up and down and screw history. What I will base it on and what I will think, I'm very interested to see Lachie Neale. I mean, Brisbane's got a good midfield, a well-balanced midfield. Lachie Neale is the real barometer player for it.
Yeah.
I don't think Adelaide has one guy that's a real barometer. Sometimes it could be Matt Crouch, sometimes Brad.
I think if you hold Sloan, you hold the Crows. If Sloan's up and about,
potentially,
Sloan's up and about, then you're not stopping the Crows.
And he was up and about last week, wasn't he? Had a very good game.
If you hold Sloan, especially if Sloan's not in the team, then that barometer goes out and anyone can pick up that slack. But if Sloan gets held, the rest of the team follows that kind of form. I find.
Yeah,
I think Sloan's definitely the barometer for that.
What I'm interested to see is Lachie Neale, who I think is at the moment playing better than any individual in Adelaide's midfield.
Yeah.
Take on an Adelaide midfield that is stacked with guys who can sometimes play at his level. I'm very interested to see how the midfield battle pans out there. And I'm actually I'm going to change my tip. I'm flip-flopping. I'm going with Adelaide because they've got more experience through that midfield, which could prove to be a big thing. And I also don't think that Brisbane really have... Who do they have in the back line to sort of man up on Tom Lynch, who's been on a bit of a tear? He's been really good.
Probably not really... Oh, well, no, Harris Andrews would go to
Harris Andrews would go to Tex, won't he? So my thought process is that if Tom Lynch can get a hold of him, maybe he can be a barometer. Yeah, maybe Keys, I
suppose I suppose the way to take out Tom Lynch would be to tag him through the back line.
Yeah,
because he's probably another player in that team who acts as a bit of a barometer. If Tom Lynch is on, because he's the exit out of the back line.
Yeah, and he's also 2-3 goals.
If you shut him down on the exit out of the back line, they lose a lot of run out of the back.
Yeah,
they lose a lot of drive out of the back.
They do. I'm gonna go with the Crows then. You're Brisbane.
I'm Brisbane. Yeah.
We've got anyone in the chat picking it up?
Yeah, there's a fair bit. Joel's not happy with my comments.
Lachie Neale is just a Tom Mitchell useless disposals.
Brad Crouch is better than Lachie Neale. That's a big call.
That is a big call.
That's a big call. It's
a big call. All right, should we move on to Game 4?
We should move on to Game 4.
I believe we've got Geelong and the Bulldogs at Cardinia.
Yep.
As our third game Saturday. I don't know if that's a Saturday night. I didn't write that down.
No, it'll be Saturday afternoon.
Just Saturday arvo. So Geelong Dogs in... the Dogs, no change.
Tim English is still out.
Yeah. So no change for them. Which is interesting because Geelong has brought in Darcy Fort, the ruckman.
Yes, his debut.
To maybe get a debut against a side that doesn't really have another...
Yeah, it's actually probably a good point. It's good for the confidence, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be. And they've also brought Selwood back.
Yes.
Out comes Constable and Radigolia. Yes.
Cats. Is there much of an... It's played down in Geelong.
Yeah. That's the decide. I mean, I'm going to go with the Cats.
That's the difference.
Don't get me wrong, I'm going to go with the Cats, but I have a little bit of confidence that the Bulldogs, in form, can take it up to them. two different Bulldogs teams.
Yeah.
There's the one that shows up and there's the one that doesn't. And when they don't, they really, really stink things up.
Even if they show up, I can't see them beating the Cats.
I don't see them winning the game, but I really hope that they bring some A game and bring it
the Cats would have to be playing a stinker to lose this.
Yes, and the Cats have that spread around the ground, whereas Bulldogs just have the midfield. They have the midfield, and that's what they hang their hat on. But though I'm very interested to see that too.
Yeah.
The likes
I'll
of
be
McRae
listening.
and
I'll
Bond.
be listening to it. Actually, to be honest, I'll probably be listening to Brisbane.
You'll be wanting to make sure that your certainty comes in.
Well, they played at the same time. Otherwise, I would definitely listen into that game. But
right.
I think in terms of a contest, Brisbane and Adelaide would be more exciting to listen to.
Definitely. I think so. All right. Well, I'm going to go with the Cats then. I actually think that Dangerfield probably has a big game because I don't see anyone from the Dogs.
I don't think Dangerfield has a big game. I think he sits up. Oh shit! I think he sits up in the forward line because he's still. There's no way he's 100%.
No. Still played okay last week though. Didn't play tremendously for his standards, but did enough.
But he doesn't have to do much. Yeah, he's not ever reliant in the midfield anymore.
Yeah,
he's not ever reliant up forward. Tom Hawkins is actually having a good year this year.
What do you think of their managing policy? Where they take the Constable's been managed. I think Radaglia
young player.
Managed as well.
No, I think Radaglia is. I think he's just sore. I don't think he's specifically injured.
Yeah.
I think he may just have some tightness, either in his hamstring or calf. I'm not sure. I did read it, but I don't think he's actually injured per se, where he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. I think he's just being managed with some tightness.
Okay. I don't hate the managing situation.
No, especially when you're in winning position.
Young kids, it shows how comfortable they are.
They're 1-2 games clear now.
It might be 2.
No, they're one game clear. Then Collingwood.
Collingwood's 6-2, aren't they? And Geelong 7-1.
Yeah,
I believe.
and then Collingwood are a game clear of third. So they're 2 games clear of third position.
Yeah, they're pretty. They're sitting pretty.
They could drop a game and Collingwood could win, and they'll still be on top with their percentage anyway.
Yes.
So it's not a worry for Geelong this week.
Next one, super interesting. Saturday night.
Yes.
At the Docklands, Essendon. Fremantle.
I genuinely don't know who's going to win this. I've tipped the Bombers, but depends on which Bombers comes in, because Orazio Fantasia goes out, Danaher comes in, which is literally the opposite of what happened last week.
Yeah, and probably not what they want. They'd love to have both of them.
Yeah, definitely. Who else? Because Bombers have got big outs this week.
They swung the axe as well on some players, and then obviously because Fantasia's out, Smith's out, Myers, Clark, and Ham were the ones that were dropped. The first 2 were injured. Coming in is Begley, Danaher, Langford, McNeese.
Yeah. So that's 5 changes, though?
5 changes. It's significant.
That's a lot of changes to a team.
And for Fremantle, interesting ins as well. Blakely, he's back.
Yes. Yeah.
Finally. All right. Connor's in. And Dooman comes in. They replace Travis Collier and Nyhouse. So Travis Collier misses out on the chance to play his old side.
Yes.
Deservedly so, because he's been pretty, not awful, but he's just done nothing.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, he was like that. Why do you think the Bombers got rid of him?
I don't understand
He
why.
had one good year at the Bombers, which was his first year there.
It's something that I don't understand about Fremantle. You go out, you get a mediocre guy that everyone knew was mediocre. He's not horrible, but he's certainly not good. And he just walks into your starting 22 ahead of promising young kids like, maybe a Luke Valenti or even Mitch Crowd and Tom North have been playing their trade at Peel. Do you have a tip? Because I still need time to figure out a tip.
I'm with the Bombers only because it's a home game.
Yeah.
Fremantle, I think, are still young to the point where they struggle to travel. They did jump GWS.
Yeah.
But I think that's an anomaly. That's not a normal.
An anomaly,
I think Freo, only because they're playing away. That is genuinely the only reasoning that I have.
I really like Freo's ins.
If this was played in Perth, I'd be tipping Freo.
I think they've bought Dooman in. Nyhouse had a quiet one, but wasn't particularly bad last week. They've bought Dooman in because I would say Smith and Fantasia going out allows them to bring Dooman in, because they lose a bit of defending with Dooman, but they get a lot more
attacking, which you need because this is being played at Marvel.
Yeah.
Which is a fast deck. You need run.
Yeah, I really like Frio's ins.
And Blakely offers that as well.
But there's a lot of guys. He does, yeah. And there's a lot of guys at Fremantle who look out on their feet in that Richmond game. Richmond were down 2 rotations.
Yeah.
And Brayshaw particularly only got 10 touches. He needs to do more. He needs to do more. He had 10 touches.
Maybe he had flashbacks of just watching Yellow go past him on Optus Stadium. Didn't want to get
hit. Maybe. Did we have to go? Anyhow, I'm going to go with Essendon, but I base this because I've tipped Fremantle the last 2 weeks and they've lost. So I'm going with superstition, and hopefully, if I don't tip them, they win.
So you're leaving your certainty to the last one, are you?
I am. I can't.
Okay.
I don't want to be in trouble here. I feel like either way I go, I just can't, and I don't want it to come down to my team. So I'm going to go with
have a good night, Cat Attack. Thanks for coming in, mate. Make sure you do check us out on Twitter, and once I put that poll up, do the poll. And
big thanks to everyone that actually checks in from the east, because we know.
Oh yeah, it's quite late over there.
Yeah.
So you've got Bombers. All right, next. Yep. Yeah,
next game we're going. We've got North Melbourne against Sydney at Blundstone. Which way does this go? This is actually probably North. This could be a 50-50 one.
I think North.
Or this, yeah.
North play Blundstone pretty well.
They do. Yeah, it's hard to. Who's the ins? They got Williams, Thompson, and McDonald come in.
Yeah. Finally McDonald. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
They've got a defender again.
Yeah. And they lose Taylor, Wright, and Durden, who is stiff to miss because his name's Sam Durden.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with North too. Blundstone Arena. They probably get the job done. Sydney they played well against Essendon, don't they? But a lot of people have said they've criticised Essendon instead of praising Sydney. I thought Sydney played. No,
Sydney stepped up. Yeah, they stepped up.
But they lose Kieran Jack to injury, and they replace him with Rowbottom. Make much difference at this point, or
no? Kieran Jack's not been particularly great since probably about 2016 as well. Actually,
yeah.
Yeah, Buddy's still missing. I think they're actually adjusting to Buddy not being there now. They're finally adjusting. Sam Reid started to clunk some marks.
He did okay last week. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. And that's who you've been crying out for to show something all year.
Sydney. Yeah. I actually thought Sydney would be better at place this year to attack finals because Sam Reid was back. Now, that might still be the case. They're not necessarily out. I think they've got 2 wins now.
Yes,
which is 2. So they're
2 and 6.
2 and 6. So they're in the same position they were last year.
Yeah,
from their 0-6 start, they could still push for finals. I still don't think they're going to. I think they'll push, but I don't think they'll get there this year.
Yeah.
North for me. I think because it's in Blundstone. If this was at Etihad or if this was at the SCG, I'd probably be a bit more 50-50, but I'm quietly confident North in Blundstone.
Luckily, we're based in WA and we get the Essendon Freo game because that's a Saturday night blockbuster, isn't it? Yeah. Excellent. All right. Moving on. Sunday, first game on Sunday.
Yep.
Port Adelaide Port Adelaide are at home at Adelaide Oval against the Gold Coast. They welcome the Gold Coast back. Both sides.
I tell you what, I was so close to getting that tip right last week. Close. I backed them in last week to get the win. They go up in the last minute, and then they cost themselves. I really backed them in last week for that.
Do you know what's heartbreaking for them again here? You get a Port Adelaide team.
Port Adelaide
very injured.
Yeah, very injured.
They're
very
missing,
out of form.
I think Ken Hinkley said today they're missing 8 guys that would usually be in their best 22. You think Gold Coast, time to maybe roll someone, really get a run on. They get injuries. They're injured now. They're missing. So out for Gold Coast is Pierce Hanley, Lemons, and Took Miller.
Wow, those are big outs.
And I mean, there might be more. This is all Sunday games, so we don't know.
Yeah, there could be more. Yeah.
But in some of the notable ins that I've just written down here were Will Brodie, Fiorini, and Ben King.
Ben King coming in.
There's a potential debutant.
Yeah, there's a forward for them.
Really keen to see how he goes. Yeah. Might be a little early to expect anything. In fact, definitely a little early to expect anything of him. I'm excited. I really want to see the outcome of this game. The Port Adelaide ins, the notable ones for me, they had Butters in. They don't really have much else. Outcomes, Marshall, Johnson, and Ryan Burton are out. Both sides hurt. Port Adelaide, they're at home. They're at home against a Gold Coast side that really gave their all last week and come up short. Maybe that's deflating.
Yeah,
they lose Took Miller.
I actually
that's
think
bad.
Because of that, they'll probably get thumped this week.
Yeah, that could be bad.
I think this is going to be a bad loss for them this week.
Yeah.
Port Adelaide are going to come out and give a lot of people some false hope for their season.
Yeah.
Again, as they always do. Come out with a huge thumping, confidence-boosting win, and then everyone will remember the following week, oh, shit, they've got no players on the park.
And we were versing the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Who didn't have Took Miller, who I think is really good for them.
How great was the Hawks win? Wow, what a win from the Hawks. Jeez Christ, who did the Hawks... Oh, yeah, that's right. The Hawks played...
GWS.
Yeah, thumped them. Thumped them.
Good segue because Hawks are up next.
Yep.
We've got Richmond and Hawthorn, MCG, Sunday.
I tell you what, I don't know who to pick for this either because the Hawks... Richmond have some outs.
Richmond do have some outs, but they've also got some half-decent ins. Among the ins were Vlosten, Rioli, and a potential debut for Collier Dawkins.
Yep.
The outs, Nankervis, Jack Ross.
Yeah.
No one goes out for Hawthorn. And they'll probably go in unchanged because the ones they've named to the extended...
Yeah, Roughhead's not even coming in after
Glass,
a 5-goal weekend.
Yeah, so Glass, Nash, Miles, Brand, all on extended interchange. Don't think any of them come in.
Does Roughhead now hurt the Hawks' structure?
Probably. No, wins and losses would say so.
Specifically, their forward structure.
Wins and losses would say so. Who kicked their goals on the weekend against GWS? I must admit, I was a bit behind the eight ball there.
It was an even spread. Yeah.
Probably what they had to
I think
count on from
Gunston
now.
had 2 or 3. I think Bruce had 2 or 3.
In fact,
it was a good even spread.
I know that O'Meara came out and said he doesn't care that people are saying they played boring footy as long as they're winning. So
yeah, who cares?
I mean, who does care? If you're a Hawks fan, you want wins. You don't care about how flashy they do it.
Well, Sydney won 2005 after the CEO of the AFL turned around and said they were playing the worst footy.
I barrack for Freo. I've been watching boring footy my whole life. Whatever.
I wouldn't say your whole life. You were playing excellently watchable footy before 2011 or before 2012, and then Ross Lyon came in.
But we were getting wins. We were happy. So Hawthorn, happy if they just get wins. This is my certainty. Yep. Richmond's going to win. Yep. Richmond were fantastic against the Dockers last week, I thought.
I've tipped
2
Richmond
down
as well.
They were 2 down. They just... And the way they move the ball. But they're bringing these kids, and these kids keep playing well. First it was Stack. Then it's Ross, who's unfortunately out this week. Then it's Bolton. He kicked 4 last week against Freo, I think. Shea Bolton. So...
yes, he did, yeah.
Baker's playing half-decent footy. Richmond's my certainty, so...
Actually, I think it was Hardwick or someone else came out this week and said that they always knew what Bolton could do in the forward line, but they wanted him to work on his defensive attributes before bringing him in and allowing him
fantastic
to
player development coaching.
And now he's come back in. They've allowed him to do that stuff coupled onto his defensive abilities.
And
now. He's rewarded 4 goals.
Yeah. Very good. So, unfortunately, as my certainty is Richmond to beat the Hawks.
As is my brother. He's a Hawks fan.
All right.
Bit of context there.
Excellent.
Come around and get punchy.
Is that going to be the punishment if Richmond win?
He gets punchy with you.
This isn't fair. He's local. No, Richmond's my certainty. So, you were going with the Tigers as well, were you?
I will go with the Tigers here. I think it's going to be a close game, though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I can't like the only thing that goes because the Hawks are a transitioning side. They're a young side. My concern for them is exactly what I was saying about Port Adelaide just before. They get a big confidence boosting win, and then. Come into the next game full of confidence, probably overconfident, and then they get thumped because they're not playing to the correct structures and they're just starting to play a bit fancy.
Winging it on momentum a little.
Yeah, that's my concern for the Hawks this week. If they come in and they actually get, even if they lose, but it's a close loss, I think I'll feel a lot more confident for the Hawks moving forward this year. But if they come out and they get thumped, it's going to be an inconsistent year for the Hawks this year.
Who takes Tom Lynch? Who is it? Frawley? Was he playing back last week?
I'm not sure. I think Frawley got in. No, he didn't.
I think he came back last week.
I'm not sure actually what's happening with Frawley.
Either way, Tom Lynch got a hold of the Dockers last week, and it really hurt Freo. So if Tom Lynch is up and about and gets a hold of
if he's up and about, that's the thing. He's had one game. Yeah, it's not enough to say that yes, Tom Lynch is back. If he gets a hold of Hawthorn this week, then you'd have to be Tom Lynch is
big game MCG v Hawthorn. If he can really have it, this could be a big showcase for him and a bit of a welcome to Richmond game. So I'm going to go the Tigers. You're the Tigers just barely.
Yeah.
I'm the Tigers certainty. We move on to our... Excellent. We move on to our last game of the round. Yep. GWS is versing Carlton at Giant Stadium. And man, they will be happy to be home.
Yes.
Because they are terrible on the MCG.
Yeah. They've actually not travelled well.
No, they haven't. They got even beat in Canberra, which technically is a home game for them, but they have to travel.
But they got beaten in Perth. They don't travel well, the Giants.
No, they do have some big ins.
Yeah,
big ins. Whitfield is back. That's
I've
huge.
held him in my dream team for the last couple of weeks. I'm very happy he's back.
If he goes off, I'm going to spew because I traded him. Mumford is back.
Yes, big,
huge.
Shane Dawson was getting monstered on the weekend.
Yeah, huge. Against Carlton, who still have Cruiser too.
Here's an interesting... I really wanted to pick this out actually last week, and this is going to go against the Giants. In the last quarter, the Hawks racked up over 60 marks.
Really?
Yeah. And this was by... They'd racked up over 50 marks by halfway through the last quarter. I don't know what that number ended up being on, because I was listening to it on the radio while I was working. The Giants allowed the Hawks just so much control of the ball. The Hawks ended up with something like 140 marks for the game.
Well,
astronomical numbers.
Control of the ball probably helps with Whitfield being back and Mumford actually trying to help you in the centre. Does it hurt with Cornelio's out? He's injured, so that hurts them. And Langdon and Bunting are out. An interesting one that was among the ins, and these are all potential ins because it's just the Sunday game. Deledio was among the ins. So
good.
What does that do for them?
He offers class.
Yeah.
He's not a big possession getter. He's not the big possession getter he used to be.
That he once was.
But class and ball use, you can't buy his class and ball use in this game. Well, you can because they did.
I do like Carlton's ins that were Nick Newman, very good. Kennedy gets his first game, Matt Kennedy.
Yep.
I really like Matt Kennedy.
I rate him.
And the FAS, Alex Fasola is back and will need to show something. Out goes, I read down Williamson and Plowman. Doesn't hurt them too much, does it?
I think Plowman played actually pretty well last week.
Okay. Right.
I think he did a lot of really good defensive efforts last week, like goal-saving efforts last week against the Pies.
Well, they were really good against the Pies.
They're very, very good. About. However, I think that's going to burn them out, and I think
another one that put up a good performance. They slunk back.
Yeah, really good performance. Last time they put up a really good performance, they got thumped the following week. Yeah, it's going to happen again this week. They're going to get thumped by the Giants.
I think the Giants welcoming back Whitfield. Carlton doesn't have anyone in their forward line who can check Whitfield at that half-back, half-forward line for each team. Is there anyone that can do it? I mean...
Ed Curnow?
Yeah, potentially, and it would be smart of them to put him there now that he wouldn't have to watch Cornelio. He typically
plays at that half-forward line.
Yeah. And he's been a tagger in the past. Yeah. Is he still doing a tagging job most weeks now, or is he playing just a forward?
Yeah, he rotates between in the forward and midfield.
Maybe they just put him on
that
Whitfield.
would be the smartest decision. Yeah. No, actually, don't do that. I want him to score big in my team. What are you talking about?
And you never want them to play against each other. GWS for me, convincingly. Although I do like Carlton's ins.
And those are our tips. Now, guys, don't forget, follow us on Twitter. There's going to be a poll on the Twitter to come up with some punishments for us if we get our certainties wrong. So to round out. Our certainties were I'm going for Brisbane against Adelaide and Justin.
I'm going Richmond against Hawthorn.
Those are our certainties. So if we get those wrong, there's going to be some punishments. Go follow us on Twitter. There'll be a poll up on there if you want to vote for what our punishment is going to be. Now, let's circle back to the start.
Let's do our questions as we do every week.
Okay, so...
Do you want to go first? You've done some research for yours. You've had yours on the boil for a while.
I'll go first. Now, what was your question?
You need to make a case.
Just for everyone that's new that's come in, what was your question?
I need everyone, to make a case that GWS can turn their form around at the MCG. Break the MCG hoodoo. They play Melbourne there, not this week, the following week. They need to win that game. They can't afford to just throw up a stinker and get done by a bottom feeder at the G. I think they only have 2 more games, including that one, left at the G prior to finals. And if you want to be a finals contender, you got to win at the G. So tell me how they can snap that, because they have been bad.
That's okay. Just before I do that, hi X, I just want to respond to you quickly. As soon as the channel actually reaches 1,000 subscribers, those polls can be done on the channel itself when we get our community tab. But until then, I've got to run those things through Twitter. So if you don't want to jump on Twitter, you don't have to. But that's the only option I've got at the moment. Okay, so how does GWS break the hoodoo? So at the moment, in the entire history of GWS, out of 18 attempts, they've only won twice.
That's disgusting.
Okay. I want to bring something up to you, and I'm not sure whether you know this or not. How similar in size do you think the grounds are for the MCG compared to Spotless Stadium and Canberra?
My immediate thought is the G is like massive compared to them.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Okay. So they play most of the games at Spotless, okay? So Spotless, the MCG dimensions is 161 metres long and 138 metres wide.
Okay.
Okay, very big ground. Spotless is slightly longer, 164 metres, only 3 metres. It's nothing. But it is quite a bit thinner. 128 metres.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's much thinner.
Yeah.
They win 55.26% of the time in their entire history. So that includes the first 2 years they were getting thumped, right? So if you take those 2 years out, their winning percentage is probably up and around 65, 60, 69%, right? At Spotless. Here is the stat that I want you to take into consideration, though. Canberra is 162.5 metres long, so only just marginally longer, but 138 metres wide. It is effectively the exact same dimensions as the MCG, and they have a better winning percentage there than they do at Spotless at 56%. Right. So the ground size of the MCG is a non-factor.
Yeah.
What is a factor, though, is the crowd itself. Now, the crowd over the weekend against the Hawks was a paltry 14,000. It's the worst. It's the worst crowd the Hawks have had since the 90s. I think it is. It was an embarrassing crowd. And
a lot of vacant seats.
GWS don't play games in front of big crowds very often.
No.
Very, very often. Their biggest crowd is 96,000 against Richmond in the prelim final of 2017. However, they lost that.
Yeah. Did they lose that convincingly?
Yeah. In fact, all of their big games, except against Sydney, who I won't count because that is their crosstown rival.
And the Sydney fans can get there.
That's not a fair comparison. When you're versing either interstate, which they will be interstate at the MCG, they lose comprehensively every time.
Right.
They can't travel, and they don't play well against crowds. They don't get the experience for it. What they should take, some positivity out of it, which is what West Coast did last year when they changed their ground size because of the astounding ground difference between Subiaco and MCG. Is they do play these grounds, particularly Canberra, very, very well. And it's the exact same ground size as what the MCG is. Just stick to your game plan. And they have to be, what they've got to be doing is they've got to be training. So a few years ago, it was probably half a decade ago now, Travis Cloak came out and said that he used to train with the crowd noise so that it was a mental thing so that he could get used to that while shooting for goal. I think GWS have to employ a similar tactic here because it has to be that.
It's got to be the factor.
It is the only difference between playing Canberra and playing the MCG.
Yeah, and it's rough.
If they come out and lose against Melbourne, I'm not making a good case that they're going to... To be perfectly honest, there is almost no case to be made here.
Given past results, it's really tough. That's really tough.
That GWS are going to come out and just start winning games at the MCG, considering their history. 2 out of 18 attempts is...
What I was thinking in terms of... I have to make an argument that they can... turn it. Oh, sorry. They won't turn it around.
That's easy. I just did it for you.
Base results. Look, and that's it. The reason I would have made, in terms of what they didn't do, it's clutching at straws, but it's literally just that they have the talent. They have talent in their side, and you're right. They play those ovals well. Stick to the game plan.
Yeah.
Just don't collapse in a heap under some pressure from the crowd, you know?
Hayek, you're actually incorrect there. Most sports in the world have different ground sizes. Baseball has a different ground size. In fact, the only sport in the world that has the same ground size is basketball. Even soccer has different ground sizes.
I would think American football would have the same. Too,
that's the same as well. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, but just those two.
Most sports have different ground sizes.
Yeah. Yes, they do. Should we move on? I mean, GWS.
Well, that's tough. A really difficult one to... I think
you made a very good case.
There is some interesting stats there that can help GWS in terms of the ground sizes, which really is the only thing that should matter. But yeah, ice hockey, fair enough. Yeah, that's the same size as well. It's basically just a basketball ring size. Isn't it? My question to you: was Tom Boyd worth the cost of getting at the Bulldogs? And I want you to argue, no, he was not worth getting.
They got him in a trade. What did they trade away?
They got rid of... Ryan Griffin walked out.
Yeah.
Well, it was basically a one-for-one trade plus big dollars.
Right. And you didn't miss out on a whole heap on Griffin because he was getting towards the end of it. The trade is not where they missed out. The reason that they didn't get their money's worth is that he's still only 23.
Yeah.
He's a key position player. He's only 23. He's super tall and he's super athletic. He had so much ahead of him. I know that he won them a flag, basically. He was outstanding in that game. Very good in that final series. And after that, things just unfortunately...
Could have won an Norm Smith medal.
I think he should have won a Norm Smith medal. I thought Johannesson got a bit lucky by weight of numbers there. But, clearly you look at that and you say, well, you got him a flag. And if he was in another club, if Tom Boyd got traded to Geelong or Hawthorn, or maybe even Collingwood, who win flags on the reg, it's something they do. It's their club. They win flags. Hawks fans, Geelong fans would be looking at Tom Boyd going, we didn't get our money's worth. We should have gotten more.
Yeah.
You played well in one flag, but who didn't for our club in this era, Like, they would be looking at him screaming for more. The fact that he goes to the Dogs pretty much breaks their, 60-year drought or whatever it was, 62 years or something. They're grateful. They're going to love him forever.
Yeah.
He is entrenched in that club forever. But the reason they didn't get their money's worth, I think, circles back to the fact that he's only 23. He should still be developing for 2 more years and then hit his prime.
Yeah.
He should, and they played him a little out of position, changed his position a lot, drafted as key forward, ends up in the ruck. It's tough. Things really went against him. But they didn't get their money's worth where they should literally, right now, with him at 23, they should be looking at Tom Boyd going, we've got 10 more years of footy out of this guy that we're paying a lot of money. And they didn't get that 10 years. That is why the Bulldogs did not get their money's worth, although he did win them a flag.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? You've got to argue that.
So my argument for that,
simple,
it is simple, but I want to bring some things up that some people may not know. Okay, so obviously he won the flag, and he was unlucky to not win a Norm Smith medal in the grand final, right? Yeah. You're their top dollar earner. You want to be their best player on the biggest day in 60 years that they've had, and he virtually was.
He did that.
He didn't come out requesting a trade to GWS as well, which should be noted here. Ryan Griffin approached the Dogs to be traded to the GWS Giants, and then the Dogs went, well, we want something back for our captain, and they chased Tom Boyd. And then, so the first year that Tom Boyd was there, he was only on rookie salary.
Did they pay him, did they? Because I was under the impression, and I think I've just picked this up from somewhere, that GWS paid him and then traded him on. But no, the Dogs
had to pay some of Griffin's wage still.
That's right, yeah.
And Tom Boyd's wage as well.
Yeah.
Right, so it's a struggling club. Right, so not only do you have to pay, I suppose for the first year, he's only getting paid about $100,000 for the first year that he's there.
Yeah.
However, his second year that he's there, $1.7 million, it was reported that he was getting. $1.7 million for a 20-year-old.
Could you not just give him 1.1?
As a third, because it was a $7 million deal over 7 years, and the first year,
that's right,
had to be just $100,000.
Right. Yeah,
the rest of the contract was so heavily loaded,
out of stretch.
However, what I will say is this: he's retired effective immediately, so he's put on the long-term injury list for the rest of the year,
which he's kind of looked after the club.
He's now on reduced payments for the rest of this year, and he's not being paid for 2020 or 2021.
That's right. They don't honor that.
So he's effectively only actually had a 5-year contract because the last 2 years on his contract have been null and void. So they're not paying for that.
I'd I'd be happy with $1 million too.
Definitely. I'd be happy with $1.5 million. Jeez. So he's effectively, if you average it out, he's been paid $1 million a year since he's been at the Dogs. He's delivered them a premiership. He's played 50-odd games for them over that time. Definitely. Specifically because, the Bulldogs have been so starved of success, not only on the field, but off the field.
Yeah.
And you have this player, when he came in, he was marketable.
Yeah.
Wins the grand final off of his own boot. He's marketable.
Yeah.
And then he also comes out and he's leading the way on mental wellness. On mental
taking
well-being.
A front foot stance and putting his hand up and saying, I need some help. I've got to step away from the game. I thought it's very brave.
He's probably one of the first players to ever do it. And I think he was then followed. I don't know whether he did it first or whether Franklin did it first. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Franklin did it during 2016 finals, didn't he? Or
not 16 finals.
2014.
No, it must have been 15 finals.
Yeah, he didn't miss a grand final for it, did he? But he missed some finals for it, I think. Yeah. So he might have done it.
He might have done it beforehand, yeah.
But nonetheless, Tom Boyd championed the cause and was very effective at it and brought a lot of light to the Dogs.
It was very open in the public scope about what he was dealing with. Yeah. And in fact, even in his retirement, he was specifically saying, that there is, you need to perform at your best, and you are so heavily scrutinised, not just by the public, but even by the club, so that if you're 5% off of your best, you get brought up and pulled up on it, and you have to have that desire to continue to push yourself in that frame. And he was just, that it was said that there was a sense of relief about him after he made that decision to the Bulldogs. After it came out, it was like this weight had been lifted off of his shoulders, and
credit to him.
All to him.
It could have been easy for him to say, I need to step away from footy, but stay on the list. I'm not retiring.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting his cash,
Exactly.
Why not? And he didn't do that to the club.
Yeah.
He was open with them. He was honest, and he said, I've got to step away from the game, and I'm not taking up
what's even more admirable is he's also, because in retirement, he could do the Kurt Tippett situation, right, where he stays on the list next year to keep receiving the payments, because it is going to be coming out of the salary cap. Yeah. Even if he's not being paid that money, it's still a part of the salary cap. They just don't actually spend it. So they can't now take his $1 million and pay it to someone else to get someone else in. That's just money that they can't spend anywhere else now. It should be that's a really important thing. It's just he's opted to not get paid for something he's not doing anymore. So the Bulldogs are effectively keeping that money in a savings account, really.
They can spend it on something. They've got a building block. He's looked after the club. He's looked after himself. and he got them a premiership.
Yeah.
So
Kudos.
he'll be forever loved by Bulldogs fans.
Yeah, and via the wider community of the AFL, and so he should be.
Yeah, he should be respected.
Yeah.
You know, what he did, there's a lot of players out there that haven't done what he did.
There's a lot of players that are out there that have retired for similar reasons, for just losing passion for the game, but none in such a high-profile manner.
Yeah, with such scrutiny on him, and he exuded class, I thought.
Well, I think that's us tonight. Only ran 15 minutes overtime.
All right, that's good. That's an improvement. That's a 67%
yeah, that's right.
Than the half
well, guys, thank you very much for coming in and watching the show with us. If you want to watch it back again, or criticize us further, it will actually go live as a normal YouTube video tomorrow morning. If you haven't done so already, make sure you do leave a big thumbs up on the stream or video, depending on how you're watching it. It means a lot to us and helps us out a great deal. And if you haven't done so already, please do subscribe and ring that bell to receive notifications when new content comes out live. Next week is actually a very busy week for us. We've got a lot of videos coming out next week, which is going to be great. And also in the description, we've got links to our Discord server. Would love to have some chats to you more one-on-one, and over the course of the weekend while the footy is actually going out. Plug the Showdown video. Oh, yeah, there you go. Joel has been working on the Showdown review. It came out this morning on the channel. It's actually quite a comprehensive breakdown.
Very comprehensive. Yeah.
It's a 16-minute video, so it's very, very well broken down. The lead up to the games, what it meant to each team, and the actual breakdown of the game itself. Joel did a fantastic job on that, and he's actually got another video coming out next week, which is the dark times for Hawthorn. He put out one a couple of weeks ago, Dark Times of Port Adelaide, which is very, very well done. A lot of research went into that. And the Hawks one will be coming out next week, which is a very extensive look at what the dark times surrounding Hawthorn, particularly in the 90s and the mid-2000s.
I look forward to it. I love seeing Hawthorn in the dark times. Brilliant. Really look forward to it.
Compared to now.
Yeah, excellent.
All right, yeah.
All right, well, thanks for watching, guys, and this has been your AFL Access.
Bye.